empower techies. We believe that sharing of knowledge is the key to enhance our skills and grow us as professionals. With this principle in mind, we've initiated a series of webinars conducted by industry experts to give you all a crisp insight of various domains. The topic of today's session is Create Great Teams in Record Short Time Using Agile. Our guest speaker today is Mohammad Mustafa Sokatali. He's a delivery manager and agile coach at TCS. Project management specialist reviewer at TCS level for complex app development projects, Mustafa was ranked #1 in TCS Global Top 10 Project Managers 2010. He's also the external project management capability advisor for Tata Steel Processing and Distribution Limited and lead faculty for TCS Global Project Management workshops. Mustafa published 9 papers in national conferences with 2 international speaker invitations at Berlin and Spain. He is also a designated Agile delivery expert, having consulted more than 10 global customers. We expect this webinar to last for about an hour with 45 minutes of presentation and the remainder time for question and answer round. So if you have any questions, please submit them using Questions tab on your GoToMeeting control panel. So without further delay, I introduce you all to our guest speaker. Over to you, Mustafa.
Thank you very much, Deepika, and thanks to TechGig for this promotion of knowledge sharing in a very professional, consistent manner. I'm going to just bring up the slides in a while. Okay, hope shown. Let me just verify that. All right. So this presentation is an attempt to share an internal team experiment and the results. The driver for this experiment was we saw that agile concepts were effective in getting our software development projects effectively out of the development time zone. What about applying the same concepts to the goals outside the project? So that was a thought process a while back internally for our teams. For example, why not we apply agile concepts in building a great team in a short amount of time? Also, this presentation will provide more visibility into why agile is effective when it comes to day-to-day complex problem scenarios. In fact, the origin of agile has its roots in manufacturing industry as well as civil engineering. So that's why we think that agile is a universal concept, not just for software delivery, but for other disciplines as well. So let's go ahead and examine if we can answer this question empirically. Okay, here is a background behind the first goal. Back in last year, we had a customer visit who was programming guru on Agile space. Together, we, the TCS, as well as the customer, discussed about how the world-class companies like Google, Amazon use cubicle-free workplace as a collaborative enabler. At the end of the visit, we promised this customer to implement a similar workplace in our offshore development center. Later, our senior executive from TCS thought we should not only make this cubicle-free, but also as a model zone for Agile. In short, this is sort of a futuristic workplace that will enable Agile behavior. So one of the key things in building the world-class team is to provide a very conducive work environment, and we believe that building such a workplace will exactly do that. But this new goal required a cross-functional coordination within TCS vertical and horizontal. Moreover, the account leaders wanted to get this done before a critical executive visit. So we just had 1 month to do this exercise. So overall, this goal was a huge elephant kind of goal that was climbing against the gravity over a mountain. Okay, so moving on. What you see here is what we achieved in 1 month. The goal was achieved and this workplace became cubicle-free, seating for around 30 to 35 people with dual monitors for technical leaders, and also with a lot of project information radiators. You may ask, so what? What is this place that has anything to do with Agile? Fundamental of Agile is creating something called the feedback loops. This workplace enables interactions and has clear line of sight to the visual radiators. What I mean by that is, when you are seated in your cubicle, without the need for going around in your workplace, you'll be able to see a lot of interesting statistics that are kept updated every day about the projects that are running in the floor. So in turn, when people can see each other from the place that they are seated, they can see all this information flowing around. It creates a lot of inbuilt feedback loops within the teams. So when the customer CEO visited, he liked what we did so much that he videographed the floor and recorded a live message to his reportees. After this, 10 plus executives, many managers and technical leads from our own customer visited this place. In the slide, you also see the list of highlights that show the high amount of coordination that we had at TCS level. Basically, creating this workplace was a complex goal involving many stakeholders. I think that is one hallmark of these complex goals and problems. As I mentioned earlier, we leveraged Agile Manifesto concepts and Scrum technique. Collection of these Agile concepts and Scrum technique are what we call as Agile Arsenal. So some of the example artifacts in our floor, just to add to the previous slide, I'm not going to spend time on this one. So we come back to the original question: can Agile help in solving complex problems in a short amount of time? These complex problems need not be project related only. It could be outside the project as well. An example is building the world-class team. So you just saw one empirical example of how we took up this complex task of building the workplace just in a month, and then we achieved. But then you might still ask, why are we blowing this complex goal problem out of proportion? You may also ask, after all, is it a rocket science? And even if the complex problem is rocket science, how do you say that Agile, which is just another fad recently, is effective in solving these complex problems? So I think we had examined that as well. So the current slide and the next slide are the complex slide. We will soon be over with it, so just bear with me for a little while. Let us construct and see if a typical complex problem like software development is a rocket science. Since we talk about the science, let's approach this software development problem from scientific approach. Forgive me for this creepy slide, but I assure you that this is the most complex slide of all, and we will soon be over it. I have applied mathematical modeling to solve this one. Before we solve any mathematical problem, we first need to define the right problem correctly. So that's what in the slide you are seeing 2-3 equations. So I have tried to define the software delivery problem in terms of the mathematical equation. Look at the first equation. This is what is applied for a deterministic problem. When I say deterministic, things can be predicted well ahead with a lot of accuracy is what we call as deterministic. The O represents what I want to get out of. For example, building a product code application online, and what was the time required to build that. So this O in that case will represent the total effort required to build that application online. The parameters in the equation on the right, X and Y, represent the activities and their effort. Like for example, analyzing the need, design, code, review, etc. Now, you realize that many of these parameters are not constant. Whoever has been involved in project development and then getting things done, you know that they really change all the way. It depends upon the team, it depends upon the communication that you get from the customer, it depends upon the environment, etc. So somehow we understand that this is not a deterministic problem, so we move on. Any change that is happening over a period of time, the best model would be a stochastic model. So in the next equation, that's what I have used. Instead of fixed defined X and Y, I have indicated them in terms of a range. For example, for online code application, this could be the effort for correctly defining the user requirement. Let us say that it's an activity. There will be some randomness involved in that. In identifying user requirements, it could be X plus or minus some amount of delta time. So we apply this parameter as a range. Now we can estimate all the effort using this stochastic formula. So what we do is, the third equation as it is shown, you just sum up all the effort Probably some of them will have ranges because the randomness is involved. Just sum it up, divide by your total number of resources and productivity of those resources. So what you will in turn get is total duration of some effort, which is again your O. Typically in waterfall, this is exactly what we are doing. But what is the real mathematical model of a software development? That is shown by the bottommost equation. It is not as simple as the one that we saw in all those cases. It is not deterministic. It is not even stochastic. It is much more than a stochastic process. It is an inductive process. So in an inductive process, what happens is many elements will be there. Human element will be there, then other environmental dynamics will be there, technology elements will be there. They interact in many permutation and combination. What you see here is a matrix of human producers, resources, bill payers, end users, and the like, working in umpteen number of ways. Additional interesting thing is, please see the subscript T below in that equation. What it means is this model, not only it is much complex than stochastic, it also is time dependent. So today if you calculate the effort of a project, it may not be valid tomorrow. New things would have been found out, things would have evolved. So it is not just inductive, it is also time dependent. Such kind of equations are really a nightmare for even mathematical genius. So in this slide, what you see is the same equation and the solution provided by Agile. First thing that Agile does is it puts the people element first and increases the problem solving interaction among them. In the Agile equation shown here, that is shown on the bottom half of the slide, you can see that human silos are broken down and the humans are grouped together to eliminate the bias, increase the productivity. Second thing Agile does is minimizing the dimension of the problem. You can't solve the problem big bang. So Agile divides a problem into smaller goals. So there will be a queue of such smaller goals. And then the team will address only a few of the most valuable goals at the top of the queue at any time. In the Agile equation shown here, you can see the worker queue is also slim and allows you to focus on very limited sub-problems of high value. So thereby what we do is we avoid the problem of solving at a big bang level. We only choose the high value from the top of the queue and then focus on them. So these two things are the focus on the human element, encouraging the interaction, and also focusing on solving the high value things first are the distinguishing attributes of Agile. The third element of Agile is it prepares you to respond to changes by disciplining the teams, keep shorter deadlines, and learn from the feedback. So in the equation below, the timeline of one problem solving cycle is kept short. The teams will take the smaller goals from the queue only to the extent of what can be done in the shorter timeline. Based on the feedback from earlier cycles, the team will get the retrospective intelligence soon because they have been there and done that, and hence they can make the necessary adjustment in the next cycle. Okay, the framework of number one, human togetherness. Number two, that is Q. Number three, shorter deadline is what we applied for reaching our goal, the one that we saw in the first slide. The greatest emphasis for us was to reach the position called retrospective intelligence faster and safer. The term retrospective intelligence means the genuine knowledge that is acquired about something by the virtue of being there and done that. Any decision further after achieving this state will be usually more accurate than otherwise. That's straightforward. Okay, so let us see the next example of applying Agile outside the project. So what you see here is our second goal after we built our Agile workplace. In effect, Agile workplace is the first ingredient to building the required agility for the team to go forward and then build up their world-class attributes. So at this point, as a team, we thought that we are ready to kind of embrace our second goal. Not only that, we also wanted to empirically test our hypothesis that Agile itself can be used to become better teams. So we went to this goal. This goal was to become the world-class team. The team broke down the goal into, again, prioritized a queue of sub-goals to be achieved one by one. Each of the sub-goals in the queue was further broken down into Agile stories. Agile story is a meaningful, smallest work that can be done that will be of beneficial to the end user. Okay, and just moving on. What you see here is here in the slide is the results that we have achieved from our second goal. One example of a story that we have taken was a health checkup. So we performed diabetes test for all the 35 people. We identified 2 early warnings for a couple of our associates. So I think it would be right time to a little bit elaborate more on agile concepts we use. We already saw why such problems that involve humans and many other elements are mathematically complex. So when you face such mathematically complex problems, the best bet to solve such problem is first accept that we don't know all the steps involved in the journey. That is, there are many unknown unknowns. So we cannot plan out a complete course of action till the end with so many number of unknowns. So instead of solving at a big bang level, we try to take a small portion of the problem that is most important for us, and that is what we call as a queue building. The second important aspect is calling up for action by enforcing shorter deadlines. So one of the sub-agile flavor called the scrum exactly does that. So we used the scrum for enforcing the shorter deadline on the stories that we took up. Thirdly, as we as humans are very biased, many reasons are there for that. So we leveraged the scale of our team to collectively discuss what we do. I emphasize the word collectively here because that is a fundamental of this third concept under Agile. So we collectively discuss what we do on everyday basis and eliminate the bias. We called this attribute as the togetherness. An example is when we implemented this goal of becoming world-class team, our product owner prioritized a story for the team to complete. The story's goal was to constantly have the team connected for various reasons, such as getting to know each other, safety, etc. So we as managers thought about using emails, meetings, and the like, but the team decided to use some emerging technology app, and in fact they liked the WhatsApp much better. But one of the managers did not like it because he did not have a smartphone, nor did he have any experience in using such applications. But majority of the team collectively thought that was a right solution. So we as a team collectively decided that this solution is a right solution, and we implemented that, eliminating the manager bias. In a typical waterfall world, we definitely would have provided more weightage to what managers think, and then we might have missed probably the best objective solution in the hindsight. So such instances educate the team about what's meant by empowerment and how they could push for values that will outweigh anybody's individual interest. You can also see in the slide the goal around sustainable office hours than the overtime. This is a central theme of world-class agile teams because such teams work at constant speed with increasing quality over time. See, and when I say that, we consciously avoid the heroics culture. So heroes will wear out the teams, and any heroism also will wear out the teams, and there would be no concept of consistent improvement. Once you are going to depend on heroism to save your team once in a while, then you will not be able to baseline your fundamental performance and then improve on that. So in a way, Agile discourages the individual heroism, but it collectively encourages the team level performance. Okay, you can see this slide. This was the next goal that we took. So what we have done here is, after our first and second goal that used the Agile philosophy for collaborative problem solving exercises, we wanted to take up a goal that is very aligned to the goal of our customers. Now we can see all the three goals together. First one is build a futuristic workplace that enables your team to interact more, to have very meaningful conversation, collectively take right decisions. The second goal is to kind of put them in line with doing a cultural shift. They are not just ordinary teams, but they are world-class teams. That was the second goal that you saw. So now we have pretty much prepared our team to serve our customer better. So this was the third goal which we took up, and we are seeing a lot of progress on this one as well. Collectively, these three goals have transformed our teams into world-class teams. I'm not going to spend much time on this slide. The slide is about what was specifically the goal that we had, what was the levels that we kind of thought about progressing from one stage to another, and some of the early results is what I'm showing here. It's a little bit of a domain difference. I'm going to skip this one. Just wanted to give you an idea of the goal that we took up to serve our customer. Okay, so we come back to our original question again, but now we have empirically proven the answer multiple times. So we are very confident about going to next slide. Okay, Q, Scrum, Togetherness again. The greatest thing about this internal experiment that we had was we learned about Agile concepts and practices that is usually worth 20 hours of contact training and internship. But we achieved this 20 hours worth of contact training and internship without taking a day off from our project work. In the next slide, I will show you how we did that. And also we will look at each of these concepts a little bit better in the subsequent slide. Okay. What you see here in the slide is the typical day of one of the offshore team member. Their time starts at 9 o'clock. This is at a software delivery floor. So you can see all the software development activities that happens around the clock, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Somewhere towards the evening, 4 p.m., you see something called Agile 360 stand-up. That's a step number 6. So that 1 hour window period, 4 to 5 p.m. is what we used for our framework of converting ourselves into world-class teams. So every day we will spend 1 hour for this one. There will be a 10-minute stand-up. That is also one of the Agile practice. So consistently by doing this for around 4 to 5 months, we have completed many of these goals, and we have definitely transformed into one of the best teams in TCS today. So you can see that this is happening in the floor where we are doing a software delivery as well. So in a way, we are not really taking any time or day off for a specific training on Agile. So we achieve a couple of things here. One is the real time we do and we learn from it. Second thing is when we do this, we also produce something of value. So I just want to show this in particular to show how we are achieving this one without taking a day off. Okay, so these 3 principles again. The first one is the queue building. And this is a fundamental of Agile planning. As I was telling earlier, usually the journey to reach any goal has a lot of unknowns, but you as an individual will have biases. So Agile concept recommends planning the journey in small steps. Do not do an elaborate plan for first few steps, the top of the queue items, but defer the detailed plan until we get closer to those stories. The reason for that one is you might do an elaborate plan, but when you get actually closer to the implementation, the reality would have changed. Remember about the complex equation that we saw earlier. The whole equation is really time dependent. So what you really want to do is do an elaborate plan for the first few steps, but defer the detailed plan until we get closer to the subsequent stories. As you go forward, as you uncover the unknowns and bias, after completing each step, I was specifically qualifying that as a retrospective intelligence. Once you do a cycle, your intelligence definitely become better about those circumstances because you have completed one cycle. Now, using that retrospective intelligence, you adjust the objective and plan of the next step. If the management embraces Agile, it should accept that estimations are really optimized approximations. Realizing this, the management of a team also will empower the team to uncover the unknowns sooner rather than setting the estimation as targets to meet. Unfortunately, ground level, what we see is many of the management, what they do is they set up estimation and then they ask the team to kind of stick to that as a target. But realistically, the equations are not that simple. You will uncover unknowns. These targets need to be refined once every once in a while once we reach the retrospective intelligence phase. Okay, moving on. This is second thing, that is a shorter deadline. Here is where we used the Scrum. So we talked about attacking the top value from the queue. That is, you just take a few small steps and then focus on them. But each step also needs to be completed, because completion is needed to reach the state of retrospective intelligence. But then completing steps requires action from the team. Normally, we as human fall to the trap of something called Parkinson's law. So Parkinson's law states work expands to fill the vacuum. Also, we as human, we are wired not to buy into thinking about a task seriously until we get closer. It's like this exam fever. Until the exam gets closer, you wouldn't really buy into the concept of preparing for it. That's a human nature, so we cannot beat it so much. So this concept of Agile recommends a shorter deadline to have a reasonable pressure to get into action. What you see in this slide is the custom framework of Scrum. We named it as Agile 360. Then in this 360 degree, because everybody on the floor, right from the delivery manager to the team member, will be involved in this exercise. Its practices are listed in the white boxes beneath. You can see that. In our Agile 360, we insisted on demo the progress of the work continuously, rather than encouraging seeing something like percentage complete. So real-time progress has to be shown. So this itself deserves a separate discussion, but just understand this is our heart of the entire execution, where we use the Scrum to expedite completing the small tasks. Okay, the third principle is about the togetherness that is achieved by the team. The team is important in two ways. One is they help identify our biases. When we collectively discuss, when we collectively interact, when we collectively take decisions, we understand the biases individually that we bring, and then we are able to make a little bit better objective decisions. That's number one. Second, the value is created at leaf level of the team. So we should plant the activities of the goal and associated responsibilities at the leaf level. At the leader level, we have to perform two things for synergy: making sure that we are in constant touch with the leaf level team members to make sure they are making progress, and also making sure that they are aligned to the original intent of the goal. The second thing that the leaders have to do is roll up the results. But in effect, if you see, it is really a combination of complementary role of both the team member and the leader. The team member level, they are buying into the whole idea of converting the goals into actions. They also understand the responsibility at the level. Leaders make sure that they kind of ensure that people are not deviating from the strategic intent of the goal. And also once in a while they roll up the results at the team level. As for togetherness, Agile tries to optimize the productivity of the team than just the productivity of the individual. So today, we kind of encourage individual heroisms, but Agile always optimizes the productivity of the team. It requires one to set up a culture where 50% of the success of the individual really depends upon the success of the team. In the lower half of the slide, you can see the daily routine of the team that collectively performed some practices on a very disciplined basis to realize those three things: queue building, frequent demonstration of progress using deadlines, and then collective decision making. So pretty much that concludes it. High level, we have seen why these complex problems are really difficult to solve by the traditional mathematical way of doing things, and how Agile is kind of stopgap mechanism to solve such problems. And also we saw the three primary concepts. One is the queue building. Instead of trying to plan out everything in detail, you just take up the top value of the sub goals and then try to resolve. Getting things done by using shorter deadlines, and also collectiveness and togetherness in eliminating the bias. So this is the summary of what I have spoken. In our experiment, we also learned a little bit more as well. So we had some assumptions, and then this exercise brought forth a lot of revelations. So usually we just assign some smart individual on critical task. But rather than that, when you kind of broadcast the task to the entire team, in our case, we use our daily stand-up 10 minutes where we'll talk to everybody to broadcast all the thing that is in our queue that needs to be completed. What you see is amazing participation of people at any level, normally who you wouldn't think as a smart individual, you would know that they have some strengths to contribute some of the activities, and that was actually the primary pillar for completing our workspace thing. I was talking about that one as a first goal. In 1 month, the whole collective synergy the team brought, rather than just a few smart individuals, was a key there. We also have this concept of communication scheduled. We have a time, we have a place, we have a meeting, etc. But communication is really continuous. If you're not going to communicate on time, your delayed communication will be of no value. So in our practices, again, we use the daily 10-minute stand-up as a vehicle for continuous communication. It was lightweight, and overall, we have communicated much more than how we have communicated over the years. That was another revelation. Again, the percentage completion doesn't say anything. If you ask somebody about how much they are complete with respect to a task, they might say 49%, 50%, 60%, etc. But in Agile, we emphasize on demonstrating the progress. For example, if you are going to create a knowledge material, rather than talking about 25% complete, we just ask them to stick even a very draft format of the knowledge material on a wall for everybody else to see it. It could be like draft 0.001, but still that is kind of an indicator of a progress than telling that 20% is complete. So that is another revelation. And there is this thinking among the managers that we can do a lot. What we understood is, we have limited time and bandwidth, and people's thinking is limited to only to some extent. So we can only do so much. So the key is not about having the mentality of we can do a lot, but then we only can do so much, and hence we have to prioritize and stick to those that offer high value. So that was another revelation. Failure is not an option. Yes, failure is not an option with respect to the customer, but internally as a team, we can fail among ourselves. Once you build a very comfortable team that is sharing across themselves, it is always faster and cheaper to fail within the team. So we just change that one from failure is not an option to yes, failure is an option, but only within the team. So prepare yourself to fail within the team before you fail with the customer. An example is somebody who is lacking in presentation skills. They will use the team itself to use as a sounding bag in terms of providing feedback about how they can improve. And when they do that, they'll be subjected to a lot of harsh feedback from within the team. But what happens is, over a period of time, the team's feedback would help this person to kind of improve on their presentation skills. So when it comes time to face a customer, he would already be prepared. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. So down beneath on the slide, you see some of the other assumptions, which again we found to be wrong. In the interest of time, I'm not going to talk much on that one. Okay, some of the challenges that we had, the challenges are primarily about the discipline. So when you are building a world-class team using Agile concepts, it's about getting together every day, staying together as a team, and then meeting to discuss the progress. Initially, a lot of people will have to do a cultural shift, especially when they follow the scrum. So we didn't have our own share of challenges. I'm going to quickly show some of them. Will not explain much. They're self-explanatory. If there are any things that come up during Q&A, I will take it up. Okay. The discipline to meet every day definitely was a problem. But we ourselves every once in 2 weeks would conduct something called retrospective, which is a practice under a scrum. So there we would get the team's feedback about how can we have a more efficient meeting. How can you make sure that people contribute to the meeting? So some of the stuff that we did is what you see here. We fixed a standard time, that's 4 p.m. No matter what, people should be there. We also restricted the maximum duration to 10 minutes. It's about now what is the goal, sub goals people are working on. Do they need any help or not? If the discussion ends up into a very specialized discussion in terms of a technical problem solving and all, we'll set up a meeting later. But here it is only about whether everybody is set to progress and do they have any impediments or the stumble blocks that they need somebody else help with. So we have this role called a Scrum Masters who is responsible for setting up this daily stand-up and then making sure that latest information on the goals are maintained. We had this roles called Scrum Masters. So it was not a defined role for only one. People rotated this role among themselves. We literally passed the ball around so that whoever gets the ball, they will talk about what goal they want, sub-goal they want, and what is current status. So many more things that we have done, you can just see that. Okay, so we had this team that was meeting up every day. It was all fine, but then there was a lot of hesitation initially to pick up story. Story, I was telling, story is a meaningful activity that will give some benefit to the user under a goal. So collection of stories will have a sub-goal, and collection of sub-goals will have a goal. So people will have to pick up a story, completion of which will help us to progress on our goal. So we kind of rolled up the results that we have achieved once in a while to boost their morale. We were kind of showing them the progress that we were making. We also kind of divided the teams into 3 sub-teams, and we gave a fancy company name to kind of encourage a healthy competition. Very important thing is it was not a forced top-down model. So we had like 3 levels of hierarchy. Anybody at the top level was not exempted. So even the delivery manager, they have to take up some story and then they have to show the progress. So we have done that. Okay, here is a challenge on, we ran out of story after a while, how we use some framework to kind of augment story. Again, this was a separate discussion, so I'm going to ignore it now. Yeah, so discipline is one thing. So they had to keep the information radiators in the floor updated. They were failing often. So again, we took some measured things to plan the responsibility at important people level, and then they worked as a role model on that. Yeah. So this one is about when you have a very open workplace, it is very kind of frustrating for people to kind of expose their machine to others, work with them, interact more. But soon after they realize the value of learning from others, collective objective decisions, how they were able to prevent their own error, then they kind of came out of it. But for any team who is starting up with an agile workplace, the goal towards building a world-class team, this is going to be the #1 challenge. Okay, this is again on specifically about Scrum, a little bit technical as well, so I'm just going to ignore it. If anybody wants some more information, please write to me. I'll be able to touch base with them. So these are all some of the challenges. I think pretty much that concludes what I intended to present. I think we can open up for questions.
Thank you, Mustafa. Thanks for this insightful presentation. Yes, we would request you to quickly take up the questions now. We would request you to read out the questions first and their answers so that all our users may listen to your commendable insights.
Okay. So I have this question from Ram. The question is about do you think Agile can be applied to all kinds of projects? As I was telling, Agile as a concept is very beneficial, not just for project, even for task outside the project. When it comes to software delivery, I would actually grade the usage of Agile or the benefit of Agile in terms of most effective versus least effective. So in a way, you might see Agile as something useful for some projects, but they may not be most effective. So wherever you have a lot of business interaction between the development team and the business team, as well as you have the opportunity of the end user taking part in developing your software, and also if your business scope is pretty amenable to dividing into smaller chunks of pieces that can be delivered in iterations. So these are some of the suitability criteria that we personally use to define which project is highly suitable for Agile. Some of them you don't need to go. For example, if it is an infrastructure project, long-running processes, etc., the entire stack of Agile concepts need not be applied. So we would go with the traditional waterfall way there. But we would still apply some of the engineering concepts of Agile, like continuous integration, for those projects as well. So to sum up the answer, Agile can be adapted to all kinds of projects, but then not all projects are created equal. Some of them will lot of value in apply Agile. Some of them might be little bit less. I think there is another question by Mallikarjun M. When should we go for Agile? My previous answer, I think, equally applies for this one as well. Agile is more of a philosophy. Agile itself doesn't provide any implementation framework. If you really want to know about what is Agile, all you have to do is there is this website called agilemanifesto.org. You can go and see there is a high-level statement about what is meant by Agile and also set of values. You just take time to understand that will explain about what is Agile philosophy. So that is only a philosophy. You also need the implementation technique. Scrum is one technique. Extreme programming is another technique. So you can pick and choose one of them for implementing the philosophy. So probably you have to understand from that angle which technique might be suitable for my organization. Now, some of them who have been waterfall quite a lot of time, there will be a lot of resistance and your own internal culture will not be able to align well. So we have to customize a little bit. In general, as I was telling for the previous question, some projects are very well suited, some projects might be not so much, so you have to kind of make sure that which one you want to pilot initially and then take some retrospective intelligence from that implementation and go at the entire organization level. Okay, there is another question from Shika Grover. Does Agile help in resource management? So I am not sure about what is indicated by resource management here. If it is about the staffing, then churning the people between the effort, assignment, appraisals, grooming, etc. Agile concepts are mostly about developing the empowered teams. In fact, internally we keep saying a fully empowered Agile team doesn't need a manager. So probably a little bit of out of the place to see Agile can help in resource management. But then if you have a process of resource management, Agile concepts are applicable. How do you kind of maintain the inventory? How are you going to predict the workload of the resource, etc. Agile concepts can be very well be applied. Okay, so there is another question from Raj Goel. Does it make any difference if we keep the daily meeting in the morning time instead of the evening time? So in our context, we had it both ways actually, evening as well as morning. What is of importance to us? People will be engaged in executing a task or activities. So we have to see at which point in time it will be ideal to capture any impediments. When I say impediments, these stumble blocks, any progress blockers that will create an issue for somebody in making progress on their task. So you have to see internally in your project context, at which point in time you are anticipating the impediments to come out great, whether it is morning or evening or in the afternoon. In some of our one location based projects, we see the afternoon as the ideal time. So those teams, once they start working for like 3 hours in the morning, then they have the stand-up. So in that case, it works very well. So you have to see the context in which the blockers come out in great proportion. Probably you can choose a time. Okay, there are many questions by Raj Goel, but I'll come back to that. I'm seeing something from Rajitesh Day. The question is, does applying Agile is limited to project duration? So I don't understand what is the project duration here. Typically, a project end-to-end we can apply Agile. In a big IT organization, before the project delivery, they also have something called portfolio and program management. Many of the organization I personally come in contact, we don't see great amount of Agile used in the program and portfolio management. Some frameworks like LESS, DAD, and then SAFE, they are to bring, they are trying to bring some Agile discipline around those areas. But having said that, right from requirements capturing all the way till implementation, Agile concepts can be very well be used. And as I was telling, in fact, my whole theme of this presentation about applying Agile even outside project duration, even for personal grooming, setting up workplace and the kind of warranty support and even the maintenance. Agile can very well be used. Only the implementation flavor might vary. If apply Scrum and extreme programming on the project delivery side, I might choose Kanban on the maintenance side because there the workflow theme is pretty dominant. One question by Sushant Binakar. How can we minimize the project effort by Agile? See, the project effort per se is not the objective of Agile. In Agile, one of the values, something called the art of maximizing, not doing things. So the principle behind that value is, normally, we will list down many things when we start a project as a scope of the project. But in reality, the value of many of these features may not even be realized. A very popular example in Agile world that we use is this Microsoft XP. There are documented research papers about how the common user of Microsoft PowerPoint or Excel, especially Excel, they use only 20 to 25% of the features built within the product. So in effect, Microsoft has paid the money for 75% of the product that nobody is using. So Agile in a way really helps you to figure out the features that are not really needed. So that is one great example right there. And also when you kind of work together as a team, the possibility of rework goes down, collective code ownership will increase. There are many benefits when you kind of work together, right? So in a way that increases your productivity. On the top of everything, Agile puts the business sponsor right in front of the development team, and by the virtue of having the direct interaction, the IT team also is able to think beyond the typical time cost scope triangle and add value. They are in personal examples in our floor. We are able to see that the IT developer went back and advised the business about how something is not adding value, and then why they had to think about doing something in certain other way. So that kind of a cultural shift is something that is brought by Agile, and that is what we have to look at. The effort minimization and then productivity increment could be a side benefits of Agile, but the main benefits are the one that I explained earlier. Okay, next there is a question by Surya Majiraju. Surya is saying, when business has high priority features to be delivered in no time, how Agile helps? That is there any standards like how many resources we can load? What effort estimates can be considered? It's a good question. When we do the staffing and then do the estimation for Agile project, the first iteration, meaning like first cycle, which could be like 2 to 3 weeks, even first few iterations, we will go with an assumed velocity of the team. So basically the team size will be constant. We will estimate about how much work this team can take up. And that will be the baseline. It's not like waterfall. In waterfall, we do the reverse. In waterfall, we take up the story of the business and then we'll staff the people according to the size of the scope. But in Agile, we do the reverse. We just baseline the available people capacity available, and then we will tell the business this is how much we can do, right? Like 400 hours of effort per 2 weeks, something like that. And then business has to choose, we can choose a high value thing that is worth 400 hours and give it to the team. When the iteration gets completed, and if the team is able to see that they couldn't really deliver so much, then they will adjust the velocity going forward. If they're able to take more, then with since the queue that I was talking about, business is always maintaining the prioritized work of items to be done. We'll pick up additional work items from the queue, and then the team will be able to work on that. So it's more of a baselining your team size and then consuming the work that you can take up. So that is the fundamental. You're also talking about high priority features to be delivered in no time. As I was telling, this is not just about the time factor. It is not about how fast you are delivering. It is about how right you are delivering. Are you really developing the right product? Many cases in waterfall, even to know that a business, we got what business wanted, it takes number of months. So we have this phases called user acceptance testing, system testing, etc. So it takes so much of time for the IT development team to understand this is what business wanted versus they didn't want this. In Agile, that time frame is really, really short. Within 3 weeks, you have to give a demo. Within 2 weeks, you have to give a demonstration of the working software. So when you show that business are able to confirm well in advance that this is what they want versus they don't want. So that's the biggest benefit. So they may not have got the high priority features in 3 weeks, but they know exactly what they wanted. They also would have told exactly what they didn't want. So you are avoiding a lot of surprises later by doing this way. So that is the fundamental. It's not really about a high productivity assembly engine that's going to churn out the high features in no amount of time. That is a misnomer. Okay. Mallikarjun M. There is a question on what's the minimum team size in Agile. Agile can scale to complex team sizes as well, but in general, we go with the fundamental co-located team concept. So a co-located team cannot be more than 10 to 12 in size. The reason is manifold. Again, it requires a lengthy discussion, but then in summary, it allows you to kind of interact frequently, have quick stand-up meetings, and also get kind of get into a comfortable kind of a norming in the Tuckman ladder relationship. If you see the growth of the teams, it allows you to go into the third stage really quickly when you have around that size. Anything beyond that, you still have to have a overall management layer to sync up those individual scrums or the individual teams. In both in extreme programming and Scrum, we recommend around 10 to 12 people in a Scrum team. If you have bigger teams, then you have to see how you can group them so that they will have a lot of cohesion within the team, but loose coupling outside the team. Okay, there is a question by Sunny Shah. Is test-driven development must for Agile? I was telling that Agile is a philosophy. Agile per se itself doesn't talk about test-driven development. Test-driven development is a practice that is recommended by the sub-implementation technique called extreme programming. In extreme programming, there are around 12 practices. One practice is test-driven development. So test-driven development, if you ask, is it must for Agile? Not necessarily. But then iteration after iteration, you are going to touch the same software code base. You would require a lot of regression in each of the iteration. So in that case, you need to have a lot of automated test cases to make sure regression holds good. And if you have started with the test cases, that is one way to make sure that you have the regression test bed ready, and then that can be reused across those iterations. The second thing is when you use test-driven development, it allows you to keep your design simple. So you will not really put in a code that is not required by a specific test case. That way, I don't need to add unnecessary complexity. In practice, what I see is there is a lot of difficulty as well as paradigm shift required among the developers and testers to implement the test-driven development. Unless I see enough reward to go for test-driven development, I wouldn't recommend it. But I highly recommend automation of the test case. So it doesn't really matter whether you are developing the test before the code or after the code. In either case, you have to automate it, and that is going to reward a lot. So test-driven development per se, you have to look at the project context to see if it really warrants such an upfront kind of effort, and also paradigm shift among developers, and do we have enough benefits for that? Okay, so there is a question by Parag Mukesh by Bayani. Which project management tool works better with Agile methodology for software projects? Which tool handles Agile and software products easily? See, tool helps to some extent. The biggest problem, personally, what I have seen is the understanding of the Agile philosophy by the team members, the business partners that you are going to work with, and as well as the management layer. That is where it is going to be really painful. Once you get these stakeholders onboarded into way of doing things a newer way, rest of them can be easily kind of figured out. There are many tools in the market. Rally is there, Zira is there, IBM Rational Team Concert is there. So that is only for the project management. Version 1 also is there. Extreme programming side, many other tools are there. So again, that's a big topic. Once you have onboarded the stakeholders into cultural shift, you can use any of these tools is what I am seeing. The critical success factor is the cultural shift, not the tool. If you really think that I'm going to figure out a best tool to kind of get into Agile, probably will be mistaken. The tool itself is not a critical success factor. Okay, so there is a question by, probably will take another 2-3 more. We have around 4 minutes, so I'll just see if we can answer them as well. Question by Mallikarjun M. How can we possibly automate test before develop the software, because we must know the application of web element ID should know to automate it. See, a lot of, I think it's more of a J2E related question is what I'm guessing. So what we talk is more of a unit test. So when we talk about testing at the class level, testing at the method level, what you're talking is more on the acceptance level. An example is invoking a kind of a web application and then testing that. So I'm talking about UTDD, which is unit test driven development. You don't need to necessarily have the web element ID and all to be needed for that. So you can start with the unit test probably at a servlet level, probably at the page level. That is more than enough. Okay, I'm just do a couple of them. How short do you suggest any iteration cycle could be? Raj Goel is asking that question. Shorter the better. If you are running an Agile and if you are telling that I am going to take like 2 months to deliver working software, it is a mini waterfall. So shorter the better. The people are having this problem of delivering something perfect for others to see. That is an anti-Agile pattern. The purpose is to get the pillars correct. You just get the skeleton of the software correct. You may not have rightly unit tested it. You may not have all the things fleshed out, but that is okay. You just to show the skeleton of the software to the business and then make sure that that is what they want. And then you can go and embellish it in the downstream iterations. Shorter the better. In practice, we are seeing that 2-week iterations work typically good. 1 week is what is desired, but you need to have a high maturity team to have 1 week iterations, and also you have to have high availability business team to have 1 week iteration. 2 weeks work better. Somebody who has a mixture of team across on-site, offshore, 3 weeks is something desirable. Anything bigger than that, then that will become miniature waterfall. So another question by Raj Goel. Between 2 weeks to 4 weeks release cycle, which one do you think works best and why? I think I just answered it. There is nothing like release cycle. Again, this is a misnomer from people who are getting into Agile. The iteration is to get a working product out. Meaning, you just want to show something that is working where business can give the feedback. The working thing has to stimulate conversation. They'll be able to see pages, they'll be able to see the results, so they can have conversation about it. In no sense, it means that it is readily deployable to production. So in our area, what we do is every 3 weeks we make attempt to deliver something as a demonstration to business partners. But production, we really go around 60 days to 90 days time period. So chunk of iterations will help you to deliver something to production. If you are going to go to production every 3 weeks, that will be hectic for a team, and anybody who is starting Agile, more chaos will be there. You might bring your production also down. Many risks are there. Okay, one more again a question by Raj Goel. Probably I'll take this as a last question. Where one can learn Agile way of working and require tools for it. As I was telling, agilemanifesto.org, you just go and look at it to understand the philosophy of Agile, and then pick up one of at least a couple of the implementation techniques, scrum as well as extreme programming, to understand the values. So this will give you sufficient theoretical background for you. The next important thing for you is in your environment, in your organization, if anybody is implementing Agile, you just go on the ground, you witness how they do. Unfortunately, Agile, my understanding is, my experience is that you cannot teach Agile in a classroom. You just have to work and understand. Even in my presentation, I was telling about how our team was learning Agile by doing it. So that is the best way of doing it. It has also potential to change even other things that you do. For example, I showed a project that I'm doing. I'm building a house, and I'm applying my Agile concepts to even building a house. And the intention is, when you apply that continuously in different spectrum, you will tend to appreciate, learn more. So it is like swimming. You just have to go do that to learn more. And don't be afraid to make mistake and then learn from it. I have additional questions, but I think in the interest of time we had to close it. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Deepika?
Thank you, Mustafa. I'm really thankful to you for conducting this webinar today. It was indeed a great session. I would also like to thank, thanks a lot. I would also like to thank all our participants for their support in making this webinar a huge success. The recording of this webinar will be available to all of you on techgig.com very soon. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your time today.